Data encryption is another method to making sure that the data is secure. Data encryption transfers data called plain text or clear text into a scrambled form called ciphertext. It can be read by others. The rule for encryption, known as the encryption algorithm, determines how simple or complex the transformation process could be. The receiver then unscrambles the data by using something called decryption key. A commonly used encryption protocol is called Secure Socket Layer, which manages transmission securely over the internet. So when we purchase something online, we can notice that the HTTP in the browser address bar changes to HTTPS. That HTTPS indicates a secure HTTP connection over the SSL protocol. A more recent cryptographic protocol is called Transport Layer Security, which ensures data security and integrity over public networks, such as Internet. Similar to the other protocol SSL, TLS encrypts the network segment used for performing transactions. In addition to being encryption protocol, SSL and TSL have both authentication functions. There are two main types of encryption, asymmetric and symmetric. But let's first understand what's PKI. A PKI is a public key infrastructure which enables the user of a public network, such as Internet, to securely and privately exchange data through the use of a pair of a key, a public one and a private one, that is obtained from a trusted authority and shared through that authority. So let's look at what is the difference between asymmetric encryption and symmetric encryption. Asymmetric encryption uses two keys, a public key known to everyone and a private key or a secret key that only the recipient knows it. A message encrypted with a public key can be decrypted only with the same algorithm used by the public key and requires that that recipient have that private key too. Anyone intercepting the message can decrypt it because he or she cannot have the private key. This type of encryption normally works better for public networks, such as Internet. Each company conducting a transaction gets a private key and a public key. A company keeps its private key and the public key, and then it publishes the public key for others to use. One of the first public key algorithms is called RSA. It is still being used widely today. There are some drawbacks of asymmetric encryption. One of them is that it's slower and also it requires a large amount of processing power. The other type of data encryption is symmetric. Symmetric encryption, or also sometimes being called secret key encryption, the same key can be used to encrypt and decrypt. The sender and receiver must agree on the key and keep it secret. So, in US government, they use the symmetric encryption algorithm with a 56-bit key. The problem is with the symmetric encryption is that sharing the key over the internet is very difficult. Encryption can also be used to create digital signature that authorizes sender's identification and verifies that that message over the data hasn't been altered. Digital signatures are very important in today's world, especially in financial transactions. Now let's look at e-commerce transaction security measures. In e-commerce transaction, there are three factors that are critical for security: authentication, confirmation, and non-repudiation. Authentication is important because the person using the credit card number in an online transaction is not necessarily the card's legitimate owner, for example. Two factors are important: what the receiver knows to be accurate and what the sender is providing. Password and personal information, such as, for example, social security number, date of birth, can be used for authentication. Physical proof such as fingerprint, retinal scan, or even signature can be used as physical proof. Confirmation must also be incorporated into e-commerce transaction to verify orders and the receipt of the shipment, for example. So when you send some kind of a product over the internet, you need to have some kind of a digitally confirmation that that person is in the transaction and they have actually sent the shipment over. Non-repudiation is needed in case a dispute over a transaction is raised. Digital signature can be used for this, and it can serve to bind partners in the transactions. E-commerce transaction security is concerned with some of the issues such as confidentiality, authentication, integrity, non-repudiation of the origin, and non-repudiation of the receipt. Now let's look at Computer Emergency Response Team. A Computer Emergency Response Team was developed by the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency in response to 1998 worm attack called Morris, which actually disabled 10% of the computers that were connected to the internet. Many organizations now follow the CERT model to form different teams that can handle network intrusion and attacks quickly and effectively. Currently, the main focus is on denial of service attack breaches, but also CERT offers guidelines and in order to prevent these incidents. CERT also conducts public awareness campaign and research internet security vulnerabilities and also different ways to improve security systems. Network administrators should check the CERT coordinator centers for updates on protecting the work and information resources. In addition, the Office of Cybersecurity at the Department of Energy also offers a security service, which is called Cyber Incident Response Capability. The CIRC main function is to provide information on security incidents such as different vulnerabilities, viruses, and malicious programs. CIRC organization also provides awareness training, analysis of threat and vulnerabilities, as well as a lot of different training sites and newsletters. Now let's look at guidelines for comprehensive security system. In a company, employees are essential part of the success of any security system. So training and security awareness and security measures is very important. Let's look at Sarbanes-Oxley Act. So, Sarbanes-Oxley Act was developed in 2002, and it requires IT professionals to document and test the effectiveness of security measures, protecting information technology and systems. IT professionals, they should be familiar with this act and incorporate it into their organization security policy. Also, companies must set up a security system that protects important records and data and prevents them from being destroyed, lost, or corrupted or altered by unauthorized user. The purpose of this act is to maintain data integrity and availability of business operation, which is particularly critical in a lot of financial organizations. Organizations should also conduct a basic risk analysis before establishing a security program. This analysis often makes use of financial and budgeting techniques such as return on investment to determine which resources are most important and should have the strongest protection. This information can help the organization weigh the cost of a security system. The last thing that we will talk about is business continuity planning. To lessen the effect of natural disaster or network attack, the business continuity planning should be very important. This plan outlines procedure for keeping an organization operational. So every company will have a disaster recovery plan that lists the tasks that must be performed in order to restore damage from the disaster that has happened. Some of the steps can be, for example, put a crisis management team together and then back up all the files, periodically review security and fire standards, also review the information from CERT and other security agencies, and making sure the staff members have been trained and they are aware of the consequences of possible disasters. They should be able to test the disaster recovery plan, and they should document all the changes made to the hardware and software. Also, they should get a comprehensive insurance policy for computers and network facility, as well as set up alternative site to use in case of a disaster happens. They should also be able to check a sprinkler system, maybe fire distinguisher, and check backups in offsite storage periodically, test the data recovery procedure, and keep a detailed record of machine-specific information such as model or serial number as well. Also, they should keep a copy of disaster recovery plan offsite in case if the disaster happens and they need to look at that plan from offsite location. So if the disaster strikes, an organization should follow some of the steps, such as put together management crisis team, conduct the insurance policy, as we said, restore phone lines, notify all the affected people and the customers and the employees, set up a help desk to assist affected people, notify the affected people that the recovery is going to be done, document all the action that needs to be taken to regain the normality of the situation, and document and finally making sure that you are following your disaster recovery plan. Now let's look at some of the key terms that we have looked at. We have looked at access control, adware, asymmetric encryption, availability, backdoor, biometric security measure, blended threat, business continuity planning. We talked about viruses, worms. We talked about firewall, denial of service attack, data encryption, confidentiality. We talked about computer fraud. Also, we talked about intrusion detection systems, keystroke loggers, logic bomb, phishing, farming, physical security measures, public key infrastructure, as well as secure socket layer and transport layer security. Also, we talked about sniffing, social engineering, spoofing, and spyware. Also, we talked about virtual private network, viruses, Trojan programs, and worms. So let's have a quick summary. Risk associated with information technology can be minimized by installing operating system updates regularly, using antivirus, anti-spyware software, and also using email security features. We also need to conduct comprehensive security system which protects an organization resources that will include information, computer, and network equipment. Computer and network security are important to prevent loss of or unauthorized access to important information resources. And finally, in case of a disaster happen, we need to make sure that we have a business continuity planning in place. And we are actually having certain steps that we follow in case of a natural disasters happen or something or any type of attack that happened to our system. We should be able to get our information up and running very quickly.